Hi, I'm Christy with Homeschooling in Progress. If you're new to homeschooling, then you may be wondering how in the world you're going to plan your entire homeschool year. Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you how I like to plan my homeschool year to give you an idea to, kind of get you started as well. So the very first thing that I like to do, and I usually like to do this around March or April, or even, early summer, is to start thinking about what I want to teach. So, I go through and decide, okay, so, is there a certain topic in history I'd like to do or a certain time period? Are there certain topics in science that I'd like to teach? Um, do I want to try to do online math or do I want to do, a textbook math? And, what am I going to do about art? And what kinds of subjects do I want to do a foreign language? What kinds of subjects do you want to teach? And a lot of times, what I do now as someone who has been homeschooling, and if you've been homeschooling already, even if you started mid-year, then there might be some things that you can think about. In my planner, I use this, but I have, things that worked well. And so I definitely want to keep with those materials. Things that they worked pretty well, but if I find something better, then maybe I'll switch. And then things that did not work. And so I definitely want to, try something else. And so I will kind of go through and fill that out for each subject and think about, did I like the materials that I used? Or, if you haven't homeschooled yet, then maybe you can think about, what are the reviews that I've heard about this? Or talk to someone who has homeschooled, what do they like or dislike about different curriculum? And so that's kind of, the general thing that I think about first. Then I like to go and kind of look around at what is available. If you have a chance to go to a homeschool convention, then that's something that maybe you could, look at the books there. Or sometimes there are your local homeschool group might have like a curriculum sale at the end of the school year where parents who are done using a curriculum will, sell it so that another family can get it at a discount and be able to use it. And then, they don't have to store it in their house. So win-win. So anyway, so that's another time that you can look through. Maybe you have some friends who homeschool, and so you can kind of look through what they have. Or just online, you can kind of browse through a lot of places. You can look through the book, or at least, a couple chapters maybe online, or the table of contents, so you at least have an idea of, what's in there. And so you can kind of look for ideas and jot them down. I kind of like this idea for this curriculum. I kind of like this one for this subject. And so just have an idea of what you might want to use, but don't buy anything yet, because then you're going to want to, look and see, do they have sales? There are some places that offer, free shipping or flat rate shipping at certain times of the year. There are some places that offer discounts at certain times of the year. Or, maybe look to see if you can get it used first before you go and buy something brand new. So, look around, ask around, is anyone selling a certain thing that you're looking for? So try to get it, at a lower cost if you can, because, we're all looking to save money. And then after you've done that, then you can start, gathering your materials and, purchasing new or used curriculum and gathering different school supplies and such. So, that's what I do next. Then I kind of gather everything. And I usually kind of separate it by child and maybe even by if we're going to use it at the beginning of the year, end of the year. And so I just kind of wait until I get most of our stuff together and just keep it all separate and, stored away out of the way. Then, and this is usually around summertime, I like to kind of start to plan our year. Not what we're doing April 3rd back in, the summer when I'm planning the year. I'm just kind of doing a rough overview plan. And this makes it a lot easier to plan during the school year as well. So what I'll do is I will take my planner, and I have a nice planning bundle that my email subscribers can get. So I'll leave a link below if you'd like to gather that. But what I like to do is I like to kind of use a year at a glance, and I'll go through and cross off any days that I know we're not going to do school. And, if we're going on a vacation or if it's a holiday, and I'll just kind of cross those off first. So then I have an idea of what days I have. Then I will go through and just do a month by month filling in. Like if I know I want to start on this day, or we're going to be out of town this day, then I'll kind of mark those as I go. And then once I kind of have an idea of when we're not available to have our school days, then I'll look at when we will. Most states, I think, do about 36 weeks, which is about 180 school days. That's what our state does, so that I kind of go by that. But you definitely want to check your state laws, because every state is different. I live in a state that is pretty relaxed about homeschooling. We just have to mark that we've done 180 days. So it makes it a lot easier with my planning. But so I generally do about a 36-week school year. And usually we start sometime in July or August, and then we end usually around May. And so then what I do is I just kind of think about, when might be a good time to end our school year. And then I kind of work backwards. And I think about that, I don't want to go too far into May, because usually by then the weather's really nice and we want to get outside. And, we're busy with putting in a garden, and the kids are really busy with their spring sports. And so I usually try to finish by about the second week of May, because I know if I go any farther, it's going to get a lot harder for all of us to really get into the mood to do our schoolwork. And so I will kind of plan our last day of school tentatively and then work back from there. And I don't count, like the week of Thanksgiving, I don't count that as a full week. I just kind of use that as wiggle room days in case we're not feeling well, or, there are some other days we want to take off that I know that I have some buffer days built in. And so I'll go back and mark around the time that we're going to start. And then I'll start looking through each of our books. Now, what I usually do is I try to start with the curriculum that everybody uses together. And so, like our history, right now I'm currently homeschooling my two middle boys. And so I pretty much will look at what they're going to do, and their literature and their science. And so I'll kind of plan all of those first, because those are the things that, are taken care of with both boys. And so I can go through and see, all right, how many chapters do I have in this history book? Okay, so, maybe the history book has 33 chapters. So that gives me 3 weeks of wiggle room where maybe we don't do history the week before Christmas break, or we don't do history the week of Easter, or maybe Holy Week. We don't do history, whatever week that we're going to be busy. And so I kind of plan out when we might take a break with those. And then same for the other subjects, maybe one might only have 30 weeks. So then we have a lot more wiggle room. I think my boys' literature doesn't quite take the whole school year. And so on the weeks that we have, maybe some breaks in there, then that'll be weeks that we do, a book that we've been really wanting to read that I'll assign to them. Or maybe we'll do a project with something. And so I kind of can fill in those weeks with just some fun things. Or if I know that there's a time of year that we are just really busy, then that gives us some more time in our day by just not doing the literature that week. And so I kind of go through and plan the together work first. Then I'll go through and kind of plan their individual work. And a lot of those things are already kind of dated. And so like their religion has, week 28 at the top and week 15. And so I just kind of plug those in as we go through the year. I don't really, plan that too much. But like their grammar books, those are just chapters. So I'll kind of look and see, okay, well, how many lessons are in this chapter? And I'll just kind of put a rough estimate about I'll need a couple weeks for this chapter, maybe 1 week for this chapter. Oh, this chapter's a long one, so I might need 3.5 weeks. And so I just kind of roughly think about, about how many weeks I'm going to need for each chapter. And then on my monthly calendar, I'll just kind of write in chapter 1, chapter 1, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and so on until I fill up the year. So that's kind of how I do my planning for the whole year. I'm not actually writing page numbers in there because, if you are going to plan something like that, something is going to happen and it's going to change your plans. And so it's just a rough estimate. And I actually do it in pencil because through the year, I'm constantly erasing and moving it to a new day, erasing and moving it. But it's nice to just have a whole general idea of how the school year is going to go. But nothing is ever set in stone. So then after that, then I think about, okay, so I know when we're going to teach. So let me think about how our school day might go. And again, be flexible with this because it may not go the way you want. Things may take longer, especially if you're using something you've never used before. You may not know how long it takes. Or maybe you realize where you put math works better at a different time. So like this year, we had that problem with nature study. I had planned to do nature study in the afternoon. I thought, oh, it'll be perfect. My little one will be sleeping and we'll be done with our schoolwork so we don't have to rush and we'll just enjoy it. Well, it just seemed that day after day, we were all so tired that we just wanted the day to be over. And so we didn't really feel like going outside and enjoying nature. Even though we really wanted to, we were just so tired. And so I moved it to our morning basket time. And it works perfectly in there. And I never would have thought to put it there, except that it didn't work where I wanted it to. And so my plans kind of changed from how I thought at the beginning of the year would go. And so be flexible because, you have all the time in the world to move things around to work best for your family. So make sure that you do that. And then after I kind of get all that done, then what I like to do is, for me, it works well on Fridays. I'm not usually too busy on Fridays. So after we've had dinner and everyone's just kind of doing their own thing, I'll head over to my desk and I'll just kind of plan our week. And I'll take my monthly notes and when I want to have everything done, and then I'll get my planner and I'll get all the kids' books and I'll just kind of go through and plan out the week because then I know that it's done. I don't wake up on Tuesday and think, oh my goodness, what am I going to teach these kids today? And maybe there are some of you out there that think, oh, I love doing that. Oh, I can't. I am such a type A planner that, a type A personality. I am a planner. I love to plan. Planning is the best. It's my favorite. And so I have to have something written down. Even if I don't follow it, I have to have it written down. And so I'll plan, for the whole week. Because then, and I do that one in pen, and even though sometimes it gets crossed off, I do know that, what we're doing each day. And so it's a little bit easier to plan that with page numbers and, a little more concrete plan. And so not only do I plan, our schoolwork, but I also, want to make sure that I plan for my 3-year-old. So if you have little ones at home, maybe you have a baby or maybe you have a preschooler or a toddler, then you want to make sure you have a plan for them as well. Because if you don't, they'll make up their own plans. And usually those end up very messy. And so, for my 3-year-old, now I can kind of give him some learning activities to do. He really loves using sensory bins. And so each month I'll spend maybe about a half hour kind of putting them together and, doing it seasonally or just a skill that he's working on. Or, right now he's working on counting. He loves numbers. And so I try to plan to leave out a few activities for him to do. And so, by kind of planning for that, then I know that if he wakes up in just a mood, then I kind of direct him to that. Or if I know that my boys are going to need a lot of help from me for a certain day, then I can make sure that my 3-year-old's pretty busy. It was a lot harder when he was a toddler. So, toddlers, you need to just have a ton of activities because, you can whip them all out and, let's do this. 5 minutes later, let's do this. So just make sure that you have a plan. And even plan your day. If you have a little baby, you may have to kind of plan around nap times and feeding times. So, just kind of make sure that you include your little ones in your planning as well, and not just planning the curriculum. And it'll make for a lot easier of a homeschool year. So I hope that gives you some ideas for getting your school year planned. And if you're a planner like me, then you're probably raring to go. So thank you for watching. Have a wonderful homeschool year. Happy homeschooling.